night was gray and chilly. The trees moaned and the wilderness was left uneasy. Waxon's elites swiftly made their way towards the village of the dealers who gave the phony Purple Hue flower to their duke. As the elites reached the outer perimeter of the village, Nylock stopped his troops. All the men dismounted their horses and led them to the trees to tie them. Captain Nylock and his men wore dark leather vests with black undergarments. Elites covered their faces with hoods to conceal their faces. Nylock circled the men and began to strategize. With this type of incursion, we need stealth and intimidation. How would that work? It sounds so contradictory, said Tirade of a smirk. A bushfire should be the initial move to distract from what is really going on. Mute and I will be opposite of you to light a blazing flame. On my signal, you move in with the other men you brought. Consider it done, stated Tirade. Just as Nylox and Mute went around the settlement, they caught a glimpse of something that caught them off guard. Children. It was early enough that they could see the children walking to their homes to go to sleep. Mute felt a sickness in his stomach, for he knew that, no matter the cost, these people need to be made an example of, and casualties were to be expected. Once the men made their way to the top of a hill where dead wood and grass lay, they knew this was the spot. Although Mute wasn't known for talking, he was expressive with his body language. He patted Nylox and jerked his head towards the children going to their homes. You know what Duke Waxon said. This village needs to be razed to the ground in order to steal the Purple Hue. This is the highest command, and we are not to disobey it. From their elevated location, they could see the perimeter of the village. At the town's center of the village, there was a garden full of purple hues that blossomed in the moonlight, illuminating a faint neon glow. The ends of their petals were but wisps that did not quite touch reality, an almost ghostly appearance. They enticed onlookers to pick their magic. That's our target. Start the fire at our position, and I'll give the signal to Tirade. Mute, feeling a sense of guilt, hesitated to light the fire. He slowly rubbed the sticks together, sparking little flickers of flame. Do it now, Nylox hissed. Mute jumped and frantically rubbed the sticks to create a small flame. He quickly added the dead grass and fanned the flame until it grew wild in size. Nylox grabbed a burning branch and waved it in a charging motion to signal Tirade and his troops. He dropped the branch and watched it burn the rest of the hillside until it encroached the village edge. Back in the forest, just a few meters away from the village, Tirade perched, waiting with his fellow men. Once he saw the burning branch swaying in the distance, he rotated his shoulders and cracked his neck. Be swift and cunning, like death itself, Tirade urged his men. At the smell of smoke, the villagers ran outside and witnessed the pending destruction, just as it came down the hillside. The crackles of the fire could be heard as it expanded into their territory. Quick, put it out before it reaches the town, a resident yelled. A swarm of men ran towards the flame, carrying buckets of water to put out what had become an inferno. The raging flame climbed 6 to 8 feet high. With the diversion working, Tyra moved in with his reinforcements to extract the Purple Hue and sneak away. Tirade sprinted with determination in the direction of what he thought was the town center when he ran into 2 young women. Duke Divine, he whispered to himself. He reached down, pulled out small throwing knives from his hips, and in an instant launched them right into the throats of the innocent. As they collapsed onto the ground, holding their throat with their eyes fixed on the sky, they could see their killer staring down on them. In order to confirm the kills, he covered the mouths with his leather gloves as he jabbed the knife further into the trachea. Only the blade's handle was seen. There was no remorse, no hesitation. His demeanor darkened, for the honor of Duke's decree was the only thing that was to be an accolade for Tirade. The rest of the elites threw spears at running victims who were caught in the crossfire. To avoid creating too much commotion, the javelin men ran up to the crawling victims who screamed in agony, "Have mercy! Why are you doing this?" Duke Divine, they responded, before grabbing their necks and slitting their throats. The bodies were dropped and pools of blood began to pour onto the ground. All that was left were the faces, forever engraved of teary-eyed horror as bubbling blood and spit escaped their lips. No villager who had been wailing before escaped from this purge. Tyre focused on the mission. He ran through corridors of 2 buildings, frantically trying to find the town center. Some of the villagers who had witnessed the death and chaos that ensued either stayed locked in their homes or made the foolish decision to flee and find the men putting the fire out on the hillside. In order to leave no witnesses, the invaders surrounded all exit points and boxed in the fleeing victims. Remember, we cannot let any oafish fleeing survivors tell the tale of tonight, one of the elites said, while the invaders guarded the entry and exit points. Tirade, after looking forever, finally found the town center where the garden lay. He began plucking out the roots of the flower and jamming it into his satchel. With 2 to 3 flowers acquired, he fled the scene. "Let's move out! Prize extracted!" Tirade shouted while running past nearby elite. The fire engulfed the village. As Tyre ran away, he blew on the whistle, signaling the surrounding troops on the border of the village. Glancing back toward the ruin, the elites began to run with Tirade out of the proximity of the fiery town into safety. "Won't the residents in the houses here report this to the men putting out the flames?" one of the troops asked. "Once they realize what has happened, our tracks will be nearly impossible to trace back to us. They did not see us with our night gear. Besides, the smell of smoke and the sound of crackling fire most likely distort people's vision, and that is to our advantage. The men on the burning hill did not see the extraction of the flower in the town center. The way I see it, we performed the task efficiently," Tyree explained. With the elites safe from the flame, they saw Nalox and Mute running towards them. "Were you successful with the extraction of the Purple Hue?" Nalox huffed. "Aye, it's right here in my satchel," Tyree gloated, patting his now filled leather satchel. "Good. Now we can leave this godforsaken place and regroup with Duke Waxon and give him his prize reward." The men rushed toward their horses and rode south to the bulwark citadel. Mute looked back while riding and saw the flames overcoming the village. The sounds of hellish screams and the crackling of flames filled the night air. The noise faded the further he rode. The clamoring of hooves galloping and the pumping of his heart were the only sounds Mute could hear.